Attorney Moumita. I'm here live to talk to you about immigration and to see the questions that you may have on your mind today. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Moumita Rahman, and I am an immigration attorney. I am here to talk about immigration and to put your mind at ease about your immigration journey and to see if there is any way that we can help you possibly move forward in your case. Now, the question that I want to start out with today is it possible for you to apply for and be approved for a T visa without any proof of what has happened to you? And this is an important question that I want to answer for you today. But first of all, for those of you who are joining me, thank you so much for joining me. Anita from Las Vegas and everybody else, let me know what country you're from, what state you're in. I always love to hear where my followers are from and just hear about the diversity of our beautiful community. And for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Moumita Rahman. I am an immigration attorney. I have been practicing immigration law for the past 14 years, and it is my pleasure to do the work that I do because I believe that immigrants make America great already, okay? So if you're joining me for the first time, welcome to my live, welcome to my channel, and I hope you will get something useful and valuable out of today's presentation. Okay, so let's talk about the fact of whether you can still get approved for a T visa even if you don't have any proof. Now, this is a comment that we got from a caller not too long ago, a few days ago, who was smuggled, he used a coyote to enter the United States. However, in the process of coming into the US, the coyotes forced him to do things. The coyotes forced him to basically cook and clean inside of one of the houses and serve everybody else, and also do some other things that were unmentionable. And this client was wondering, and he was worried about the fact that he had not gone to the police and that he did not have any proof of what he suffered at the hands of the coyotes. And this is what I will say to you. If you have used the help of anyone to come into the US and they have forced you to do things in the process of coming into the US, then it might be possible that you are eligible for something called a T visa, which can help you get a green card in the future, and you don't have to leave the US in order to get approved. However, many people don't apply out of fear of the fact that they don't have any proof, right? So how much proof do you actually need to get approved for this type of case? And the answer to this is that you actually don't need as much proof as you think you do, because your case really depends on your affidavit, and your affidavit should contain the right type of details to help show to immigration why you were trafficked in the US. Now, let me explain again what it means to be trafficked for immigration purposes. Anytime that you have been in a situation where somebody else has basically forced you to do something, they have forced you to work, they have forced you to cook, to clean, they've threatened you with violence if you don't do that, they forced you to carry bags. Sometimes it could be like you could be living with somebody, you could be in a relationship with somebody, and they forced you to do things. Otherwise, your safety is harmed. This is called trafficking, and it is a very valuable tool because it can help you get legal status, okay? So if you have been worried about applying for this because you don't have any proof, you don't have to worry about that. There is one requirement that we have to fulfill for that case, which is to make a report before we file the case. But if you didn't do it in the past, that's okay. Okay, so call us 212-248-7907. All right, let's see what questions I have today. Hello to everybody. Someone's asking, how do I get a consultation from SD Ott? SD, you can call us at 212-248-7907 to make an appointment with my legal team. It will not be with me, just to let you know. Luisa is asking, did your office have people that speak Spanish? Luisa, yes, I would say probably 90% of my team speak Spanish, and we also have other languages on hand too, including Bengali and also Portuguese and Creole, Haitian Creole as well, and French. So if you are needing to speak to us and you don't speak English, or you're not comfortable speaking in it, just let us know what language you need, and we'll see what we can do. Okay. Hello on TikTok. Would a DUI ruin a pending VAWA case from Moonchild? Moonchild, thank you for your question. Now, will a DUI ruin a pending VAWA case? Very good question. Now, when you file for VAWA, you need to show something called good moral character. And to show good moral character, you have to show that you don't have any convictions that fall within a certain category of crimes. And a DUI is not necessarily one of those crimes. So a DUI may not prevent you from getting proof for VAWA, but you still have to show proof of what the conviction is. You have to show that it's not a disqualifying arrest. Now, if you have 5 DUIs in the past 1 year, that may be a problem. But generally speaking, 1 DUI may not be a problem. But you want to bring it up with your lawyer and make sure you disclose all of these facts and make sure you get all of the certificates of disposition so that your lawyer can properly analyze the charges. Sometimes you might need to ask for certain waivers of your criminal convictions. Now, waivers are not available for everything. That's why it's really, really important that you disclose any sort of criminal history to your lawyer, and also that you get the proper documentation for your lawyer to analyze to make sure that it's not going to put you in harm's way. Nish78, hello from Trinidad, need help with my green card. I was married to a US citizen and my card expired. Nish, so I'm assuming that you may have had a 2-year residency card. And a common problem that a lot of people have is that if you entered into a marriage to a US citizen and you got a 2-year residency card, but your card expired because you never bothered to file for your I-751 removal of conditions. Maybe you got divorced from your spouse. Maybe your spouse left you or you had to leave because the relationship was not going well. So if you had a 2-year residency card, but your card has expired and you are no longer married to that US citizen, do you have any options left to renew your green card? And the answer is yes, you do. Something that people do not commonly realize is the fact that when you have a 2-year conditional residency card, and again, it's going to be a 2-year conditional residency card because when you get your green card through marriage to a United States citizen, if your marriage has not yet reached the 2-year anniversary date on the marriage date, then the government is by default, they're going to give you the 2-year residency card. It's one of their rules. But that's why you have to file to remove the conditions or to renew it. And if your card expires, it can be a problem for you. But if that card already expired and you're no longer with your spouse, you can actually still file for a waiver to renew that card and to get your 10-year residency card. So give us a call, Nish 212-248-7907. Now, if you had a 10-year residency card and it expired, then usually, that's a pretty simple matter to just renew, file the application to renew the card. But if you have the 2-year residency card and that's the one that expired, then it's a little bit more complicated, and you don't want to do that without a lawyer because frequently a lot of people can end up in deportation if it's not done right. Charlie Diaz is asking, hey ma'am, I have a green card. Can I file for my wife whose papers got expired? From Charlie Diaz. Charlie, thank you for your question. Now, if you are a green card holder and you are married to somebody who is out of status, then your spouse's case is actually going to be a little bit more complicated because you're not a US citizen. When you're a US citizen, you can apply for your spouse as long as they have a legal entry, even if their legal entry status expired years ago, right? Now, take that with some caveats, because sometimes we can, if your spouse does not have a legal entry, there might be some things that we can do to help them get a green card in the US. But if you are a green card holder and your spouse is out of status and they have a legal entry, then unfortunately your spouse is not going to be eligible to adjust status inside the United States because they are a preference category relative, and preference category relatives have a tougher journey to getting a green card. And this can apply to your child. Let's say we spoke to somebody today who's a green card holder who wants to apply for their child, but their child has been out of status for quite some time. Well, the problem with that is that adjustment of status requires a legal, not just a legal entry into the United States, but also for you to be in status if you are a green card holder and you want to sponsor your relative. So now if your wife is out of status, then one of the frequent ways that we can help them get status is they could do processing out of the US, and they can ask for a waiver before they leave. However, that is complicated. And in our office, we like to see what we can do for clients without them having to leave. So Charlie, we'd be happy to see what your wife's options are. Give us a call, 212-248-7907. Abdul from Burkina Faso, hello. And Eid Mubarak to all of my Muslim followers. How long does VAWA take now? VAWA is still taking about 3 to 3.5 years. My I-130 was denied, but I'm not getting the denial letter. I submitted a FOIA and a request. So Ajay, that's an interesting question. Now, if one thing that you should understand is that the I-130 belongs to the person who petitions for you. So if you are the US citizen relative who filed an I-130 on somebody else, then you can do a FOIA and get that because that is your application. But if somebody filed an I-130 for you, then the receipt, the notices, the approval letters, the request for evidence are not actually yours, but it's your US relative's application. Zeke Henry is asking, question, my wife wants to divorce and ICE has my passport, from Zeke Henry. Zeke Henry, I'm really sorry to hear that. So a lot of you are definitely in the situation where you're married to somebody who's a citizen and they are divorcing you or they threaten to divorce you. And what are your options if your spouse is trying to divorce you and they're a citizen and you're not? A lot of the times when your spouse threatens you with divorce, when they're angry or when you're having a fight, I want you to understand that that could actually be a big tool of manipulation, and it can actually be part of a pattern of emotional abuse. And if your spouse is constantly threatening to divorce you, they're constantly telling you that you're going to get deported or that you need them to stay in this country, I want you to give us a call at 212-248-7907. Now, if your spouse is doing that and ICE has your passport, then that means that you may also have you may be underneath an order of supervision, or you may already have an order of deportation. So there might be additional steps that we have to take to help you get status in the US, but it's probably going to be, it's going to be easier to do that when you don't have to rely on your spouse who's trying to divorce you. Okay, so you can give us a call, 212-248-7907. Do you take cases that are already in process? From Pat Goatley. Pat Goatley, not really. It depends on what's going on and what you need. But if you already have a VAWA in process and you're looking for me to take it over, we're probably not going to do that unless you have a request for evidence that needs action right now. And then we might be able to help, depending on when the deadline is. Harish, dear attorney, I was cheated by my employer back in the US and India. They forced me to work. They clearly lied to US CIS officers on site visits, but I'm currently stuck in India. Can I do a T visa? From Harish. Harish, I'm so sorry about what has happened to you. So if your employer has put you into a forceful, abusive situation and they forced you to work, they caused your immigration status to be harmed, they watch all of my videos about T visas and I talk about it more there. You may be able to do a T visa. However, there is a very important requirement that you have to be inside the US on account of the trafficking. So if you have already left the US and you're stuck outside the country, you may not be able to do a T visa any longer. However, there's sometimes that maybe your employer blackmailed you or extorted you or harmed you in some other ways. And if we can do a U visa, the U visa might be a way to bring you back here. But the T visa generally requires that you not have left the US, okay? I-751 is pending for almost 2 years with no biometrics. What can we do? From AO? 2 years is still considered a normal processing time for an I-751, but if you believe it to be outside of the normal processing time, you can do a service request with USCIS. My 10-year green card was based on marriage and I'm divorced now. Do I have to wait 5 years for naturalization? And the answer is yes. If you got your green card through marriage, but you get divorced and you want to become a citizen, you have to wait a full 5 years before you can apply to become a citizen. Now, does it matter when you get divorced? And the answer is, well, if you get your green card and you get divorced like the day after you get your green card, then that's going to look a little bit suspicious to immigration. So even if you wait 5 years to do your citizenship application, immigration can ask you about what happened, and they might still ask for proof, and they might still see if any of your answers diverge from any information you gave in the past. So you may still end up having problems in your citizenship process if your marriage is called into question. They can still question you about that up until the date you become a citizen. Okay. And what you can just take with you, make sure you review all of your information that you've submitted in the past. A lot of times people may get their green card while they're separated from their spouse, or they've already filed for a divorce when they do their I-751 and they don't notify immigration about that, and that can create a problem for you, okay? So watch out for those pitfalls. BMW Princess, that's good. Now let me talk about this, because I think you're talking about the fact that BMW Princess, you filed your I-751 and you got divorced in the process. Now, that by itself, being divorced during the process may not be a problem, but the problem becomes when you don't inform immigration about that. If you have a pending I-751 and you separate from your spouse, if you file it joint and then you separate and then you get divorced and you don't let immigration know, that is actually going to later be considered to be a fraud. Faith, thank you for the follow. Can I travel internationally with an I-31 advanced parole? From Dahl, I always say to everybody, consult with your attorney first before you travel. Generally speaking, a travel and advanced parole is usually allowed, and it's usually not a problem. But my advice to generally anyone, especially my own clients, is if you have any sort of criminal issue, I would recommend you to not travel in advanced parole. Do we need a lawyer to appeal an asylum denial? I have a family member who's detained at ICE in El Paso. Anytime that you are in court, especially when you are in court, I believe that it's always handy, it is always important to hire a lawyer who knows the process. There's actually a statistic out there that if you are already in removal proceedings and you are not represented by an attorney, your chance of denial is that much higher, and the appeal process is a little bit more complicated. So I definitely recommend for you to consider hiring a lawyer to help you do that. Elon Dumart, is it possible to get approval of a green card by VAWA while you still have deportation proceedings removal? From Elon, yes, because a lot of times we have now, I've lost count of how many clients we've gotten. We have had numerous clients who were already in deportation proceedings and they already had court hearings, or they had an order of deportation from prior to starting the case with us, for whom we filed either a VAWA or a T visa. And we have been able to get their cases in court dismissed because of the pending VAWA case. Now, some offices around the country require for the VAWA to be approved first, but many times we're able to get DHS attorneys to agree to a joint motion to dismiss those removal proceedings through something called prosecutorial discretion, which basically says to them, like, hey, look, this is my client. He's got a hearing in 2 months, but he's a person of good moral character and he has a pending VAWA case. Will you consider closing out the case because he's not a threat to public safety and things like that? And 9 times out of 10, they do agree. So we've been able to get lots of our clients out of deportation as a result. And if you are in, if you do have an upcoming hearing and you need to file for VAWA, or you want to file for a T visa, these are really great tools for not having to go through that entire court process. So do call us at 212-248-7907. Ansar Raisa, how are you? How long will it take for work authorization? Work authorization is taking between 6 to 10 months to get after the case is filed. Do I get a travel document if I apply for a T visa from SR Rupnarine? Rupnarine, you don't get it while the case is pending, but after your T visa is approved, there are options to apply for a travel document, although some specific rules have to be followed. How long does it take to process my wife? I'm a US citizen. Depends on what your wife's status is, where they're living. It could take anywhere from a year to 2.5 years. Can I apply for VAWA if I have an illegal entry and a pending asylum case from Joseph? Joseph, as long as you qualify for VAWA, then yes, you can. Now let's back up and talk about VAWA. What is VAWA and how can it help you if you are married to a US citizen? Now, VAWA is a special self-petition. It is called a self-petition because you can apply by yourself and you don't need somebody to petition for you. And VAWA is available to spouses of US citizens, spouses of green card holders, or parents of adult US citizen children where that US citizen relative has treated you harmfully. If they have screamed at you, yelled at you, physically hurt you, assaulted you, forced you to do anything that you were not comfortable with. These are all considered to be parts of abuse. And abuse, the thing about abuse is that we grow up with a lot of behaviors that we accept and we may not consider abusive because we believe it's our duty to be a good wife or a good husband or a good mom or dad and put up with certain behaviors. But in reality, if your spouse's or your child's behavior is hurting you or affecting you emotionally and mentally, then that may qualify you for a VAWA. And VAWA allows you to apply for a green card, even if you have a deportation order, even if you have an illegal entry, you can apply for VAWA and get approved, and it gives you protection from deportation. It can also, for the most part, you can apply for a work permit and a travel document in most circumstances, and it is a valuable tool. And to qualify for VAWA through your marriage to a US citizen, first of all, your marriage needs to be real. You cannot have a fake marriage. It has to be a marriage made in good faith. And what a good faith marriage means is that you must have entered into marriage for the purpose of having a life together with your spouse. And you have to have lived together with your spouse for any period of time. And you need to have suffered in your relationship. Now, for your child, if you want to apply for VAWA through your child, it's very similar. You need to show that you are the parent. And a lot of times, if you're a stepmom or stepdad, you can also qualify for VAWA. And how many of you out there are parents where you married somebody who had a child and that child was just horrible to you? Now, if that child is 21 and they never accept you as their mom or dad, you may qualify for VAWA as well. Now, the key to that is that your marriage to their parent must have taken place before they turned 16, okay? And you must have lived together with that child for at least any period of time, and that child must have hurt you emotionally or physically, okay? So call us today, 212-248-7907. Now, the beauty about VAWA is that you may still be approved here in the US without leaving, even if you entered illegally. VAWA does not require a legal entry, and we have gotten work permits and travel documents for so many of our clients who have not got back home in 20 years, 30 years, and they've been able to reunite with their families and still be on their way to getting approved for a green card. I just did a video, which you guys will see later, for a client who I've been representing for a long time, who just got her green card through VAWA based upon their son, and it's a miracle, right? It's a miracle. People don't believe it works, but it does work, okay? So you can call us at 212-248-7907. Thank you for all the gifts, guys. Nick and somebody else sent me some flowers earlier. Thank you for that. Michael, I lived with a pastor and I used his papers to work, but he demands that I pay him every month for using his papers. Can I file for a T visa? From Michael. Michael, this is something that's so interesting. And I want to give a shout out to one of my mentors, Helen, who has talked about this. But for those of you who are really religious and you're with your church and your church uses guilt to, guilt and fear of God to work, to get you to work, to get you to hand over money. And if you were living with your pastor and they let you use their papers to work, but then you're forced to give over all of your money. Maybe they treat you like a servant and you have to clean up in the house. Maybe there are other things happening. Michael, yes, it is very possible that you may qualify for a T visa. So call us at 212-248-7907. Crafty Ed, my friend got robbed while working at a 7-Eleven. Can he apply for a U visa as a victim of crime? From Crafty Ed. Crafty Ed, have your friend call us. He needs the police report. A lot of times at these robberies at gas stations, they're usually done with a weapon, and any robbery is considered a felony, and any robbery with a weapon is even more serious. It's an aggravated felony usually. So usually that will qualify for a U visa, but we have to see the police report to make sure everything is all right. Okay, so call us at 212-248-7907. Consultations with us are $150, and if we cannot help you, then we actually would refund you the consultation fee. Can a citizen with a criminal record petition an immigrant? From Nankulu. Nankulu, yes, they can, unless the conviction is for something involving, it's for a crime that is covered underneath the Adam Walsh Act. Am I eligible for a T visa if I am on a J1 and my boss doesn't follow the training plan from CHRF? Very interesting, because we just had a question from a client who's on a J1 who wants to do a T visa with us today. And two things about that. How can you qualify for a T visa, regardless of what the circumstances? Now, if your circumstance is that you came in on a J1 visa, the employer not following the training plan, that by itself will probably not qualify for the T visa. However, is the employer now treating you like, you have to basically work extra hours and they're not paying you, and they keep mentioning to you that, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to send you back. I'm going to cancel your visa. Are they humiliating you? Are they cursing you? Do they make you feel obligated to do all these things? Are they, what are they doing? What are they saying? There are probably other things going on, but just not following the training plan by itself may not be enough. But the best thing to do is to call us and let us ask you some more questions to see what we can do. So call us at 212-248-7907 to see if we can help. What other ways can DACA recipients can adjust status? From Carla. Carla, well, we just got a green card today for one of our DACA clients, and one of the ways that we got, one of the things that we did with him is we helped him get advanced parole so he can come back into the U.S. with a stamp in his passport, and then we did a green card for him based upon his marriage to a citizen, and he didn't even have an interview. He didn't have to leave. We just got it in the mail just a couple of days ago. But if you are a DACA recipient, one thing that you can do is get advanced parole and use that to apply inside. But frequently, not every DACA recipient is married to a citizen or has a relative that can sponsor them. So if you do not have somebody to sponsor you, then really we would want to look to see if you qualify for something independent, like a T visa case or maybe even a U visa case. Now, if you do have a legal entry and you are married to a U.S. citizen, then it should be pretty straightforward. But if you don't have a legal entry, we could try advanced parole, or we can see if you qualify for also like military parole in place, or maybe even Section 245I adjustment of status, okay? Amber, hello. Thank you for that. Eid Mubarak to you as well. Amber got her EAD and I-131 and is also a DACA client and wanted to know if she could travel to India for 3 weeks. So if your EAD is approved, it's approved. It's approved, right? Your EAD and your I-131, when it's approved, it's approved. Now, if your EAD is based upon the I-485 that you filed with your spouse, then we want to proceed a little bit more carefully. And Amber, call our office so we could discuss this with you more fully, okay? All right, guys, that's all the time that I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I know I haven't answered every question, but I appreciate you all being here. I'll be back again tomorrow. So pay attention, put your notifications on, and hopefully I'll see you then, okay? Take care, everybody. Have a good night.